Rob Anderson, the newly elected chair of the Utah GOP Republican Party, thank you so much for being part of 3 Questions today.
Thank you, Bob, for having me. I appreciate it.
You describe yourself as not a politician, and yet here you are on top of the most powerful political party in the state of Utah. Explain yourself.
I have no explanation. So I don't have a face for TV like you do, Bob, but here I am, and I've been thrown into the media because I think it was so odd that 2 years ago I wasn't involved in politics at all, run for Davis County to be the chair, had no campaign, and won by 3 votes. And then the more I got involved, the more I saw that what I could offer and what needed fixing here at the GOP. And so based on that, led me down the road to making contacts and getting support from areas that were really essential for me to win this last election. And then on top of it all, I think the big thing that became an issue was the legal debt, transparency, accountability. Those things that I ran on resonated with the delegates, and I was able to win the election.
You are by trade an airline pilot and a former Air Force fighter pilot. What qualifies you to lead the Utah Republican Party?
Well, my second round convention, I didn't have a second round speech for that minute, and I went up there and said something to the extent of, I've led men into combat. You can trust me with your party, so please vote for me. And from the time I was a youth, raised on a ranch, my dad traveled quite a bit. He was involved in politics when I was younger, and he would leave me in charge of things and give me a list of things to do. And we had a dairy as well as a cattle ranch, and so it was busy all summer long. And so from then I began to be trusted with assignments, and then also to delegate those out to people who worked for us. And so I did that as a young man, and then I went to the Air Force Academy, and that is a leadership school. And I don't think there's any harder leadership training than trying to lead your peers and get them to do something that they don't want to do in a college atmosphere. So that was a difficult leadership environment. And then throughout the course of my career, there are leadership courses that we attend and do, like Squadron Officer School, which I was a distinguished graduate from that as well, where we go and we practice and learn leadership skills. And so I think really what I offer is a new vision, a new insight, and perhaps a different type of leader than we have had in the past.
Why do you think the party wanted a change at the top?
Well, I think it boiled down to a lot of dissatisfaction. I mean, there's this divisive issue, which is 54 or Senate Bill 54, and it's been so divisive, it's divided the party, and it's divided the party from those caucus convention supporters to those who actually support Senate Bill 54.
Which is Count My Vote.
Count My Vote, yeah. Yes. Yeah, so the Count My Vote people. And so, you know, it was interesting that I appealed to the delegates to win this election when I actually had signed the Count My Vote petition before I was involved in politics. And so I think that they understood where I was coming from. I explained myself. I was not dishonest. I told them I signed the petition when they asked me. And we go forward from there. But I think the honesty and integrity are issues that are important among these people, and they want to unify the party again. I think the people I've reached out to, as far as the donors, the traditional donors, the businesses, they want the party unified again. They want to be able to feel like if they invest in the party or donate to the party, that they get a value from that, that we get good conservative people elected, and that provides a better business environment for them and their businesses. So hopefully we can do that.
The Republican Party here in Utah is more than $400,000 in debt. $300,000 of that is just in legal fees on the Count My Vote court battle. How are you going to, you ran on a promise of turning this financial ship around. How are you going to do that?
Well, I met with the governor today, and he is going to host a fundraiser for us, so hopefully we'll be able to fund enough to run the party. We've also, and I would like to return to a party that can within its own party, raise the funds that are required to operate. So if we can do that within the party and not rely on these donations, I think that's important too. So we are getting ready to send out an email, and we'll send that out to the people to donate a Lincoln, hopefully to support the party. But we're going to focus first on the operational debt. We're going to build up a little bit of a war chest, a bank account for us, and then we'll look at the legal issues and the legal debt. And that has to come to conclusion before we start to fund that. I don't want people to think that the lawsuit can go on from here to eternity and we'll be able to pay for that. That lawsuit has caused a lot of financial issues for the party because people don't want to donate to a party that's mired in a legal battle.
Now, you have the power unilaterally to end that lawsuit, but you have said you're not going to do that. How are you going to end that legal tussle then over SB 54?
Right, that's part of the transparency and accountability portion of this. And legal counsel did inform me last week that I did have the power to unilaterally end this legal challenge. We're in front of the 10th Circuit right now. The briefs have been filed, so all the legal work up to this point have been done. So there's no harm other than keeping the donors at bay by continuing to press the legal challenge at this point. And so what we'd like to do is find out if they're going to hear if they're just going to rule off the briefs or if they're going to want to hear oral arguments and those kind of things. In the next couple of weeks, we should find out a timeline when the 10th Circuit will actually hear those, most likely in the September timeframe. So we're going to continue that pace. Also, at the same time, there's a lot of things that have come out as far as facts about the legal costs, and there's a movement out there that says we're not incurring legal costs, but we actually are, and those legal costs are owed to an attorney who provides us services, and we want to service those as much as we can, as best as we can. And his deal was he'll take whatever we can raise, but I think that to get rid of this after the legal challenge is over, one way or another, we've got to go back and we've got to make good with Mr. Mumford and his firm. And it's our civic duty and our conservative values that want us to do that. So we'll make good on that. It's all going to take place probably after the legal challenge is over with. But we'll march the course for now. He's going to inform me if they want oral arguments. That's when we'll incur additional fees. And at that point, we'll have to make a decision. And we also, about that same time, when the 10th Circuit is going to hear this, we're going to have a State Central Committee meeting, and we'll discuss that at that time and get the guidance from the State Central Committee as well. For
those hardcore delegates who are bent on defeating SB 54, how do you keep them happy with their ideology while at the same time ending this legal battle that is bankrupting the party?
Well, I think the delegates need to grasp the reality of the situation. So if the legal challenge were to prevail and overthrow Senate Bill 54, there's nothing to stop another petition gathering effort to go to a primary. So that battle of the legal challenge, it would be a Pyrrhic victory in that case, as well as if the legislature meets and decides to overthrow and repeal Senate Bill 54 without, count my vote, people on board, they as well could go back to the table and run that challenge. So it's not merely as simple of an issue of winning the legal challenge or repealing the law. It goes further and beyond that, and we need all those people that support Count My Vote to buy in as well. And so somewhere in the middle, there's an acceptable solution, and it's my job to be in the middle of that fight and negotiate and barter a solution so that everybody's happy.
You were a big Donald Trump supporter all the way through the election cycle. Has his winning the White House been good for Utah Republicans?
I think it will ultimately. I don't think there would be any opportunity to revisit barriers or any of those things, or perhaps get states' rights back again if President Trump weren't in the White House. I liked Donald Trump for the mere fact that I was in the military. I was with and probably am a group of authoritarians, people who know what's right and wrong, who aren't afraid to stand up for what's right and wrong, and are very opinionated. And I understand where he's coming from on that aspect. There's a few things that I think are distractors from that, and people seem to resonate with the tape that came out and other things. But the bottom line, from what I hear behind closed doors, I think he's a good man. I think he has good intentions, and I appreciate that kind of person in the White House. Hopefully I can do the same without the flair that he has on Twitter with the Utah GOP.
You don't have a Twitter account, I trust.
Well, I know I do, but I rarely look at it. It seems like I'm so busy nowadays, but...
Every now and then, a Democrat will win an office here in Utah.
Right.
Does that bother you?
No, it doesn't bother me, but I would like every Democrat out there to know that with my election, your job is in danger, because we're going to target those areas and we're going to try and turn it to a conservative flavor. And I think we have support in most of the areas. So all the Democrats that are elected are in Salt Lake County right now in the state offices. And so we would like people to have a better option in a conservative leader and a Republican. So we'll see what we can do.
You're not happy with the supermajority that exists now in
There is,
Utah?
you know, a lot of people want a balance and shoot for that out there, and I think that we actually have a balance within our conservative party. There are so many different areas and ideas within our own legislature, within the Republican Party, that I think I don't think it changes that much. I think even if you're a Democrat in Utah, you're probably pretty conservative compared with some other states.
Utah Republicans have been fleeing the party by the thousands lately. Why do you think that is, and how do you turn that around?
Well, the controversy and the conflict and those kind of things, and I think we need to educate people about what the party really stands for, what ideals, what conservatism it has. And so if we can get that message out there to resonate, and we're talking about doing that, we're going to start launch a blog here in the next few weeks. And after this election, that's got our minds and our people all working towards that. But if we can launch a blog and we can discuss issues and both sides of the issues in a non-threatening manner to educate people, I think people will be naturally drawn to the conservative side. I think most people in Utah were raised conservative, so I think those kind of things will bring people back to the party, and hopefully they'll want to join and become Republicans again.
Utah Republicans have broken into factions. I mean, part of it is Count My Vote, part of it is the lawsuit surrounding Count My Vote. You see the phenomenon with Bernie Sanders when he came to Utah last year, and that election cycle, and all of the young people there. There just seems to be a momentum that the party hasn't been able to keep up with. How do you regain that momentum?
Well, it's going to be communication, and you know, these media opportunities help us, and I think we've kind of got our wave going with the election. I think I was an outsider, a long shot from the beginning of this thing. I just went in and talked to a gentleman who helped me with the election, and I told him, I said, you know, if it weren't for you, I was about ready to throw in the towel, and this was about 3 weeks before the election. And thank you so much for the ideas and the direction and the focus you gave me. And that focus ended up turning to be the big things in the campaign. And I think most of the Utahns who have left, who have been disenfranchised from the party, believe the same way I do. And I want them to know that we're here to represent them, not just these different factions. We represent the entire spectrum. Talk to me. My phone's open. Let me know what you feel. And let me know your voice. I want to hear it. And we want to get you back involved in the party.
Last year, Bob Bennett's son, the late Bob Bennett's son, Jim Bennett, left the Republican Party because he said the party no longer represents him. Now he is the face of United Utah, a brand new party that positions itself right in the middle. Are you concerned about the effect of the United Utah Party and its effect on getting Republicans to come back and even eating into the base of the party that's already still there?
Yeah, you have a new party out there, and I think that one of the biggest things in the corner he's going to have to square is financially. Is he going to have the financial support to be significant? The other thing is, I think you need national affiliation, which the United Party doesn't have. And so with those things, I don't want to say it's doomed to fail, but I think he's going to have a very difficult time becoming a valid party in the future. And we saw those efforts with the Tea Party that failed, and the Tea Party had pretty good financing going into it. So I'm not that worried. People who are looking for something new, I don't want them to go look at the United Utah Party. I want them to look back at the Republican Party, because we're going to change, and we're going to bring out a new leaf here, and I think we've got what you want.
How much of a hassle was it, or is it, to have Jason Chaffetz leave Congress early?
Well, it's that whole election thing is a lot of busy work, and so it has been a little bit of a headache. But for personal reasons, I don't think that I wouldn't even blame him for that. I think public service is a different mindset. I'm learning that for myself. You know, I thought maybe there was a paycheck at the end of the day. Well, there isn't. Yeah. No, it's a
different kind of paycheck.
Yeah, yeah. So I think he has every right to pursue the path, and opportunities to open up, and a door opens, just like the door opened for me to be the chair. If he has another path that he wants to go and that door is open for him, then go for it, and we'll deal with what we need to replace you. And there's great candidates out there, so I'm not worried about leaving a void. I'm just focused on getting things through the convention. Not worried, but focused. And I think we've got a lot of support from people within the party to make that happen. So.
If you had to call Jason Chaffetz's replacement at this point in the process, would you venture a guess as to who would replace him?
No, I wouldn't want to say. I want to be as neutral as possible, so I'm gonna say off the record on that one. So I wouldn't say, but I think there's some good candidates out there. I think there are with some good name recognition, and I think it'll be interesting to see what happens after a convention.
Finally, to wrap up, as a non-politician, now in a very political environment and political office, as chairman of the GOP here in Utah, what surprises you the most about this new position and these responsibilities?
My executive director, who also worked my campaign for this position, he says the thing I love about you the most is the thing I hate about you the most, because I've been known to author emails where I say confidentially and then I say something that probably shouldn't be written down. And so frankly, I'm quite too honest with people, and I don't plan on changing that. That's just who I am. So that's probably the biggest learning curve from being a politician. The second thing I would say is my first speech at convention in Davis County when I won was horrible. I was horrible, and I don't know how I won. And so I spent hours upon hours upon hours practicing for the last convention, and apparently it was enough to win, but I'm not a good public speaker. I can get up there and talk about tactics and getting the forces together to go push into hostile territory and maintain air dominance, but as far as standing on the stage, it doesn't come naturally for me. So politics isn't my thing, and I don't expect it. I'll probably become more comfortable, but I don't expect it to be too long in the future where I go back to a more relaxing lifestyle.
All right. Well, Rob Anderson, GOP chairman, newly elected GOP chairman of the Utah Republican Party, thank you so much for being part of 3 Questions.
Thanks, Bob. Appreciate it.